From Wakefield, it's the Nolan Cart Night Show, starring Nolan, inviting you to join Nolan as guest this week, Patty and Patty to the show. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Nolan. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the program. And joining me on this episode is a big accomplishment and a big deal for myself. Two of the funniest people on TikTok. If you don't see them, I'll link their account down in the bio below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or the audio platforms, wherever it may be. You may know them as Patty and Patty, but if you see them or know them off camera, they're known as Anita and Marilyn. How are you both doing today?
Great, Nolan.
Yeah. So your name.
Thank you so much. I'm Anita Salvati,
And
Patty Martucci.
yes, and I'm Marilyn Matarese, and I'm Patty Scardino.
Well, this has been a big thing for myself, and I forget when I first followed. It must have been when you both were doing. Maybe it was just one of you were doing the Italian lesson TikTok so well.
Oh, that was me.
Ago,
Yes.
and I like that. You know, I've picked up a few things from the Sopranos and that sort of stuff, but I enjoy it. But no, great stuff. And as I always like to do with my guests, seeing as it's sort of unavoidable, though it's kind of died down a little bit. We're going through some interesting times right now, some crazy times, and seeing as you both are performers and actresses in this field that really had a effect or got an effect from the pandemic, how's life been for both of you professionally as of right now?
Well, it's been okay. I mean, it's better than it was when we went through the pandemic. We did not stop. We always find a way, creative people always find a way. We filmed on our own and we Zoomed. We actually filmed on Zoom,
Yes.
right?
Yes, we were. It was the height of lockdown, and we recorded a Zoom meeting, and then I edited it in such a way that we had a split screen, and we sort of put COVID into the theme of it because we had to. Everyone was talking about it. In an odd way, the fact that people were home and had time on their hands and were on their phones more and watching.
Sure.
Our viewership really went up. I mean, we're up to about 800,000 followers now.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, over 500,000 followers. And we got some really nice comments from some wonderful fans that said, you got us through COVID, your comedy, we watched you, when we were locked inside our homes or apartments. Some people have small apartments and they have to stay inside. They had to stay inside. So it was really nice to, see those comments.
Yeah.
But
things are back,
doing the Patty and Patty routine, how much of it were you nervous before? Because obviously it's not just you started during the pandemic and doing it on TikTok and stuff, and you did beforehand. How much of it were you nervous during the pandemic that you may have to really scale it back or have to really change it due to you're not able to be in person doing it?
I don't think it was a matter of being nervous. I think it was a matter of being extra creative and trying to figure out a way.
Yeah.
But once we figured out the way, which was zooming and splitting the screen, I think that we were fine and we went with it. And this is how we had to do it for like almost a year, I think.
Yeah, it was a good long time. It was at least 6-8 months.
Yeah, so it had to happen that way, and we made it happen. It was better than not happening at all. We didn't want to go off the screen and not do anything off air. So making it happen, it sort of it stretched us creatively.
Sure. Well, it's as I said to you during the phone call, it's such a amazing and great, well done production and performance. And when I first saw it, I was like, these. I thought it was real for a second because it was so well done and the acting was so well, and I was so entertained. And then it's amazing, and power to you to be able to continue to do and be more creative and all this stuff. Even the David Bowie one, I think that was one of the first ones.
Oh, that was so much fun at the High Line.
I like that the face paint, and then you were walking through, and then the end of it. What I also like to do here on the podcast is sort of, after talking about COVID, because that is enough and depressing as it is, but sort of start from the beginning and sort of talk about your story and hear about your story and how you got to where you are today. And whether it be a situation like this on TikTok where you have tons and tons of traction and fans and followers and that sort of stuff, or in life, sports, media, whatever it may be, if you're very successful at it, from an early age that, this is what you want to do. Whether your parents want you to do that or not is another thing. Growing up, the profession of acting, what was your perspective on it? Not just as an entertainment thing, but also possibly doing it as a career?
Are you talking about an early age, very
Yeah.
early age? I knew like in second grade that I wanted to do acting. I just remember the moment that it came over me. I was doing this little play called Dr. Manners. And I remember having this little script, and I was with this boy Lowell, who really didn't have any life to him at all, and I was swinging him around, and I just felt something when I got out there. I had like one or two lines, and I felt something. So something stuck with me since then, and then I felt the audience. I felt the power of being out there performing, and something stuck with me. It was early as second grade, and it never left.
Do you remember that first applause? Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's so many actors we all have that moment. I guess for me, I always knew I would want to do something creative. I used to be really good artist, and when I was in high school, I thought perhaps I would become a scenic artist or scenic designer because I would design sets in high school for high school plays. But I also played leads in the roles, and then I realized I wanted the glamour of the stage. So that sort of stuck with me, and I always had a vision of myself. I was thinking recently, we were talking in high school where it was actually part of a class, and you were supposed to imagine where you were going to be 10 years from then or 20 years from then. And I think I even said, I'll be walking down the street in New York City and going to an audition and be living in Manhattan because I was in upstate New York. And it happened, and it's funny because I went to reunions with some of the kids from, the drama department, and very few, if none of them really continue to do it. Some have done some community theater and things like that. And somebody actually said to me, wow, you really did it, and it was kind of flattering to me because I went, whoa, because, you see as an actor in New York, you have that, you're slogging away, trying to get the next gig, and then somebody else sees you from a different perspective of, wow, you actually are doing it.
And the dream is always in, you get pieces of your dream. I remember we were down in Little Italy. We were filming the St. Gennaro pieces. I don't know if you saw those on TikTok.
Yeah.
But I turned, we went down there and we were just walking down the street, and all of a sudden there was like at least over 10 people that recognized us as Patty and Patty and screamed out, Patty and Patty.
Yeah.
And I had this vision like years ago that I said to Marilyn, I want to be able to walk down the street and people are going to go, there's Patty and Patty. And I said, you know what? And I said, after we did that shoot, I said, you know what? Pieces of the dream came true. So you have to recognize when the piece of the dream comes true. It might not be gigantic. It might not be total fame. That's not what it's always about. It's about pieces of it coming true along the way and recognizing it.
Well, that's a big thing in life that you sort of have to, not necessarily, want the big picture right away. Have to work at it and keep persevering on and pushing forward. And acting, I'm sure it's a very hard profession where you're dealing with a lot of rejection and not getting roles and not getting this and that. And you sort of mentioned that too, where all of it pays off and you have people recognizing you in the streets. As an early actress after school and after really refining your skills, how do you deal with that early on where you want to do this and you want to do this, but you're facing this stuff early on where you have to adjust from it?
Well, I think you develop a thick shell. You kind of have to, because it can be soul destroying. I mean, it does get you still. But then I think as you grow older, you realize I get to the point, as long as I know I've done good work, if I go into the room and I know I've given them 100%, I can walk out of there being okay with it. Because there's a million reasons why you didn't get an audition.
Sure.
I mean, book a job.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even give a mediocre audition and still book it. You could walk into the room and remind the director of his ex-wife, and you could be brilliant, but they're not going to cast you. Or you could walk into the room and remind that director of his girlfriend from high school that he should have, made a move on, and something like you never know.
Or you could be wrong for the role and get it, and then wonder why they hire that person in the production. But the whole thing, I think it's the language. I think you have to not you have to choose your language well and what you listen to. I remember Lady Gaga, she said she doesn't listen to anything negative, and she doesn't read anything negative about herself. So I always looked at that word. I never listened to that word rejection because that's what people use all the time. They say, how do you take the rejection? It's not rejection. It's you change it. It's that doesn't go into my head. It's that I didn't get this part. Move on. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. The audition's over. You didn't get it. Move on. It's not about rejection. It's about I didn't get this. I'm going to move on.
Yeah, auditioning well and getting the part are two different things. They really are.
Yeah, and I think what Marilyn said is so true. If you went in and you did your work and you do a great audition, or even if you do a mediocre audition, you went in there and you auditioned. You did what you could do, and you could always make it better. Anybody could always make everything better. But it's about going in there and doing it and then forgetting about it and get on, go have your pizza or go out to dinner with your boyfriend or your husband or whomever, and do your next thing and then go on to the next audition and don't dwell on the past. I mean, I know that's cliche, but that's really what it's about. And choose your words. Don't stick that rejection word in your head. It's the wrong word.
Well, that's really universal for, I mean, any career path in life, whether it's athletics or if it's movies or anything like that. It's a very powerful thing that you really have to do because, they're going to move on. They're going to move on to the next person. So you might as well move on as well because you don't want to sit around playing that complain game. Now, after reading bios and watching other interviews, Wooden Spoon and this and that, one another ones reading that, both have a lot of, educational stuff that helps, and that's pretty impressive. Whether it's Second City, NYU, Weber Douglas Academy, does that sort of give you a greater appreciation for acting and what you're doing, and showing that you have the stuff to do it?
Yes, you realize there's a difference between people who have iPhones and film themselves and post it on TikTok. I like to think the reason that we are popular is people recognize that we're not just a couple of goofballs.
Sure.
Yeah.
With an iPhone.
Right.
And that's what people actually respond to. And I think that's why people actually think that the characters are real. Yeah. Many people do, particularly on TikTok because it's a younger demographic. So we do have a lot of fans who are in their teens. We also have this wonderful fan who's 97, Gussie.
We're going to meet with her this summer. We were invited to her birthday party.
And she's a huge fan, and she and her daughter have been watching us during this whole thing. We sent her a happy birthday cameo.
They love her. They love us.
It's just funny how the different generations respond to us. Because I think the kids, we remind them of their funny aunts or their grandmothers. And the people who are our age and older, we remind them of part of Italian-American culture that's fast disappearing.
Yes.
Sure.
And I think that's what people respond to because we are still real.
Yes.
You don't want to descend into buffoonery with you still want to keep a realness to it. And I think we are trained actors, we do that. And
it comes from a real place.
Yeah, we both come from very traditional Italian-American backgrounds.
Yeah, our writing comes from a real place.
Anita's parents were
she's first generation. I'm first generation here. So, it's all a combination of my aunts and family friends and mother and father and all different memories. Yeah. But as far as training, I think training's really important. Yes. I love my training. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City. I got wonderful training. It wasn't one style. It wasn't the method. It was all different styles of training. And I got all different array of directors and different criticisms. And I worked with some wonderful people. And then I started studying improv and worked with some people from Second City and worked with a troupe and went out to Chicago and here in New York. But training is really important because that's where you really make your bones. That's where you really cut your teeth and you get out there. It's like, it's not theory anymore. It's the real deal,
Plus, if you're in a long running show, God willing, that's where the training comes in because it's really hard doing 8 shows a week. You're always going to have one show a week that's just inspired. It just comes out of nowhere. You also will have one show a week that's a little off, and that's when your training comes in because that's when you have to rise to the occasion. If you got this fabulous audience and they're screaming, they're clapping, they're so involved, that's great. But sometimes you get an audience, like we say in Italian, they're a little mouchad.
So what are you going to do?
Mushy. What do? You can't sing to their level. You've got to bring them up.
Yeah.
And you got to keep doing, you got to keep into your part, not worry about them. You got to keep doing what you do to 100% plus. You can't give less. I remember, you know, we were doing a show down in the village. We were doing Tony and Tina's wedding. And I remember it was a snowstorm. And I always remember this. There was, I think, it was a real bad snowstorm. It was like 22-inch snowstorm. And I remember, I think there were more people in the cast than were in the audience. We gave, and I'm serious about that, I think there was maybe 10 to 15 people in the audience.
Wow.
Like over 25 people in the cast. We gave 100% in that performance because those people paid for a ticket.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they came down to see us. So it wasn't like, well, there's a snowstorm and there's nobody here and I'm not going to do my best. I'm just going to go get through it and that's it. And take my makeup off and go home. It wasn't like that. It was, we gave 100+%.
Yes.
And that's what it's about, being professional every moment.
Yeah.
Is that what sets you apart then from, I don't want to say, you know, I don't want to say if someone's better than you or you're better than someone else, but is that what sets you apart in terms of work ethic that needs to be provided in that, in your field?
Well,
I don't compare. We just do what we do. You know, we are who we are. We remain professional.
I've been lucky. I mean, for the most part, I've worked with people who had a work ethic. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, the cream kind of rises to the top, you know, when you're working in different casts.
Sure.
You know, I've been very lucky. I've worked recently with wonderful people who were incredibly disciplined and had Broadway credits and national tour credits and, you know, had the same mindset. Had a lot of fun, hard partying, you know, we had a blast after the show. But when we were doing the show, we were doing the show.
You're serious when you get to the set. You're serious when you get to the rehearsal stage.
Because a lot of those people will fall by the wayside anyway, people who aren't like that, particularly in theater. I think maybe in film, it's probably easier to get away with it. And, you know, of course, you hear these horror stories about really famous people who are nightmare on wheels to work with.
Yeah. Right. But on
to
the
me,
stage,
I think those people were probably a nightmare to work with when they were in 8th grade.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I just like that.
If you're a difficult person, it's going to be off stage too in your personal life.
Yeah.
But it, you know, it starts in the dressing room. Theater, you're on, it's live, it's different than taping, but it starts in the dressing room. It starts with, you know, you're preparing, you're getting ready, you're getting into your role, you're not causing chaos. You know, I mean, sometimes in dressing rooms there is a lot of chaos and it's hard to find silence and whatever. You know, there are certain rules in the union for dressing rooms, but you know, people don't always follow them.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it has to start before you get to the dressing room, and it just builds. So then your performance will be.
Yeah. Helen Hayes, great. I don't know if you know who she was. She was a great actress.
She gave me my diploma at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts.
Amazing.
Yeah.
She was a great actress. She has a Broadway theater named after her. She was in the golden age of Broadway. And there was this wonderful quote I read about her, and she said, "There are only 2 places in the theater in which it's acceptable to cry: in the bathroom and on stage." In other words, don't bring your stuff.
That's right.
Into the, you know,
of course.
Part.
That's right. And I think it was Helen Hayes that said it to her. You got to fight. You can get to the top. You got to fight like hell to stay there.
Yeah,
of course.
That's probably more Betty Davis.
Yeah, Betty Davis.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing of, you know, that's very popular and important in all facets of life, not just theater and movies and other forms of entertainment. I want to ask you, Marilyn, you know, being trained in London, if I'm not mistaken, what was so gravitating towards that in terms of acting, but then that other forms couldn't necessarily provide, maybe? So,
like I said, I always wanted to study there. It was always a dream of mine, and I wanted to study Shakespeare because, believe it or not, I'm a Shakespearean trained actor. But, you know, it's funny, I wound up getting far more work doing, you know, New York Broads. Yeah. But it was marvelous being there, and it was really good to study there and study in New York, because in New York I went to Strasberg studio, which was part of NYU at the time, and the differences between that and the classical training in London, where it's almost, they say it's from the outside in rather than the inside out. But I had a marvelous Shakespeare teacher there, and she had come out of retirement. She had apparently been on the West End in the 1930s and had made a reputation doing a lot of Oscar Wilde's work. And she had taught Anthony Hopkins.
Oh, wow.
She, you know, when at RADA, I think she these amazing people she had taught, and so just to work with her, Judith Jeck, she's probably long gone now, God bless her, but she was amazing, and she would just say stuff like, "You're really good. You have to. You're good. No crying. None of that. No, you have to." And it was sort of, when they're older and they're just, they'll just say it, and you go,
Of
"You know what?
course.
You're absolutely right." You realize, they've lived and they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So that aspect of it is great. And it's just great to live in London
I'm
because
sure. Yeah.
theater is so cheap there to go to a show.
Really.
Oh man, it's so much cheaper.
So different
than
than New York.
And you can go to the theater. When I go back when I'm on vacation, honestly, I go to the theater every day.
Wow.
Just because it's, like I said, it's so cheap, and the really good stuff is going to come to New York anyway. And that's where you get to see it.
Yeah.
So.
I wanna also ask you about the roles that you've had and the well-known credits that you have, whether it's on television or for both of you, whether it's on television or on the silver screen or on theater. How do you deal with a situation like that when you're part of a TV show or a movie or a theater production that's so well known or universally liked, when you're still just trying to do the role and do the best job you can do?
We were just talking about that. It's funny.
Yeah.
When you come into like an existing cast, or you come into a hit show.
Well, yeah. If you really have to sort of, we said, lay low. You don't go in there with double barrels.
Sure.
You watch, you listen. There are people in this cast, especially when it's a big show like The Sopranos or something, that have known each other, that have bonded. So you don't want to break into their, their little niche. So you just watch and you listen, and you go as you would normally with any job. You go as a professional. Yeah. You go ready. You go with your lines known, and you do your best.
Yeah.
And you listen, and you really listen, and then you write thank you notes afterwards and follow up.
In a way, it's sometimes it's almost more difficult to just come in and do a small part in an existing cast. Like I'm doing something on Law and Order, and the guy who was the lead in the show, he was a murderer. He even said to me, he says, "What you're doing is harder because you're coming in."
Yeah.
If Edie Falco blows a take, she's still Edie Falco.
Sure,
everyone is wonderful. When we come in as a guest artist and you blow a take, everyone's like, "Oh gosh, where'd they get this from?"
Yeah, they're just watching you, and you're hoping you don't blow it. Now you're with these famous people, so you're nervous. It's like, But, so you have to deal with it. You just have to deal with it. Yeah. You have to concentrate is what it is. You really have to concentrate.
But, it works out. You rise to the occasion.
Being that you were you mentioned it, but I, read about it, Sopranos, they have, since the pandemic, have revitalized, well, not revitalized because they've always been there, but they really were watched again and tuned into again during the pandemic. And recently not recently, but the last 2 years or so, they had the new TV show on HBO Max, The Many Saints of Newark. Did you watch any of it or the movie?
I haven't seen Many Saints yet.
I saw clips of it.
Yeah.
I saw clips of it.
The Sopranos I watched when it was on.
Sure.
I was watching stuff during the pandemic. I thought it's a brilliant show. Yeah,
it's a brilliant show, and the Newark is, it's basically, that same sort of mafia now feel to it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how they had that sort of spin off that. Yeah. I think you never go wrong with that subject.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody loves, The Godfather.
Of course.
The Sopranos, all these, the mafia movies. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that word, mafia, but so it is what it is. But I don't think you can go wrong with that subjtic matter, especially if it's done well. The Sopranos was so real.
Yeah, because I know you had asked that sometimes some people I think were saying it glorified and that aspect of Italian American society and culture. I actually disagree.
Yeah.
I think
I do too.
What I object to, I think those subjects have been a source of fascination for decades.
Sure, yeah.
To me, Michael Corleone was he was like Macbeth in a way.
Yeah.
Because you saw how power corrupted him. He could have been it's a timeless story. And of course it was executed brilliantly by the cast and by Coppola. And
also,
Scorsese does the same thing. To me, what I object to is stuff like, growing up. I won't even mention the name. Growing up, when they do these reality shows about
Sure, yeah.
that, to me is because it makes it seem as though we're all like that.
Sure.
right. And I think even with the movies, like something like The Godfather, which is probably one of the most brilliant movies made. I mean,
It's genius.
that talk about, real, I mean, those people, everything they did, it's just like I could see it like in my family, like the close family ties, the food, besides the organized crime. But the whole thing with that kind of movie is that it's those people and people who are closed-minded and say, well, they're, it's all, they're picking on the Italians. I don't see it that way. I see it as looking at a piece of who those people are. And then there are all these Italians over here. So how can you be so close-minded as to say, well, that's all the Italians? That doesn't insult me.
No.
And I've certainly played and done stereotypical roles. I mean, some people steer away from that word, but there are stereotypes and there are truths to stereotypes. And also there are falsities to stereotypes.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's how you look at it. But to look at everything as a whole and say that's everybody.
Or that's,
that's, of course, we know it's not.
And insults Italians. Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, Italians, it's interesting because Italians were, we came here so at the beginning of the last century, we've sort of been absorbed into the middle class now. But in my parents' generation and my father's generation, they were really discriminated against.
Absolutely.
And really.
And when they came here in the 1800s, when the Italians came here with the Irish and everyone with Jewish people, they had to, fight their way in the street. They had to. There was organized crime because they had to find a way. I mean, whoever, was involved in the organized crime, there were reasons for it and things happened. It was a big city. It was tough. So there's realities in that.
Yeah, my father said when he was a young man, he would go to a job and there'd be a sign on the door saying, "Wasp only, need apply."
Wow.
Yeah.
In fact, a Jewish man gave him his first job.
Wow.
And he was born here. Now his father came over. He fought in World War I think, to get his citizenship. He came over from Italy. I think he was a young man, about 16. It must have been like that scene in The Godfather. He came to the steerage and saw the Statue of Liberty there.
Yeah.
And he actually was gassed in World War I.
Oh.
He was never the same after that. He actually died pretty young. He was only 58. Because, you never really recover from that. That's why it was mustard gas. It was World War I.
Sure.
My father served in World War II, and my brother was a Vietnam veteran.
Yeah.
So, Italian Americans have this culture, but it just seems almost forgotten the struggles that we had.
But the discrimination was there on all different levels for all different ethnic types.
Italians got beat up by cops all the time.
There were pockets who were the construction workers who got the cop jobs. The Irish got the cop jobs, and then the Italians were in the construction, and then before they weren't, and then they kept others out, and it was just all, all down the line. It's
Slowly
just like the history
doesn't
make it right, but it's an interesting history.
Yeah, it is.
Well, now I want to talk to the present time with the time remaining we have left. TikTok is a very humongously popular application with all sorts of content creators, and you're one of the people on there who have found great success on there. Before you started putting it on there, and I don't want to say transitioning to there, but what were both your thoughts on that platform and putting your show on there for people to see? Was there any reservations? Well,
we learned about TikTok when it was new. It was like the cutting edge.
Yeah.
I think it still is partly cutting edge. It's not that
still
old.
The most popular.
Yeah. We were doing longer videos then. We were putting things up on YouTube, which we still have. And then we heard about TikTok and Instagram, and we just jumped in.
Yeah.
I mean, it was longer. The videos were longer. And then they shortened them to like 30 seconds, first then a minute, then 30 seconds. So now they're shorter and shorter. We just jumped in. We were advised to do TikTok, our social media person. And we said, yeah, let's do it. And it's just been...
Yeah. Our timing was really good, honestly. And we kind of went viral on our first video. It was just this little funny scene where we were down at the Feast of San Gennaro. And it was something about, I think we were eating Zeppelis over a garbage can or something, you know. I mean, it was
Something very real.
The damn thing just kept getting hits, and I think we were at about 100,000 hits. Going, oh my, where did it come from? And we just sort of took off.
And then we're surprised at what people
We
look
are.
at.
I mean, we got 20.3 million hits.
Yeah.
On IG for a video. We did a remix of a video about focaccia. This woman did something like focaccia. This
something
thing
simple
just took off. Another one, we got 10.6 million on IG for something about breaking spaghetti. We did a mix because that's like, you don't break spaghetti. God forbid you break the spaghetti. You put it all in the pot. Spaghetti. You don't break nothing.
My grandmother only broke spaghetti, Patty, when she had to make the soup.
Yeah.
To break it, the little frittellini.
Anyway,
come on.
So anyway, any Italian knows that, So anyway, that thing got 10.6 million views.
It was amazing. Like,
because we go, but meanwhile we will do these collaborations. We do real proper
we're writing,
videos.
And then we don't.
With real directors.
Yeah, we don't get as many of the hits.
I mean, really, our best stuff is really on YouTube because it's actually scripted. It's written with real actors and a director, and it's very different from TikTok.
They're like mini films.
Yeah, they are.
But the TikTok videos, sometimes it just blows our mind that I can't believe all the hits we got looking at Focaccia. And then sometimes it's duetted, sometimes it's stitched. Yeah. And we can't believe it. It's just like this little mini thing we do, and it takes like 30 seconds. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, we have a really great social media person, Chloe Gordon, and she's been really instrumental in getting us up there. But actually, my husband, right before we started doing, my husband said, you should really, and my nephew is an A&R guy for Universal, said, you should get on this thing TikTok. You should get on this TikTok thing.
It was new. It was cutting edge.
Yeah.
Speaking of the success and the numbers and millions of views and likes and stuff, how do you both deal with it at this point compared to when it first started out?
Well, it's content.
It's constant. It's filming every week. You have to keep going.
You keep going up there, and then you get these weird algorithm glitches
that bring you down.
TikTok will readjust, and you hear this in the forums.
And there's no reason for it, and so that kind of drives us crazy. But it's something you can't worry about. You just got to keep moving along and pushing ahead.
Yeah. So it's the internet.
Yeah, it's
cyberspace.
It's something that I'm sure, and another more credit to you to be able to continue to do it and continue to bring success. Because I'm sure at some points you've wondered,
I don't know what these kids, they're always on that computer.
I don't know. You push buttons. Where are you going to go?
What are you going to do?
Well, I'm sure you think often, maybe not oftentimes, but you think, what can I do next to continue to bring it up? But then you have all these avenues where you've learned from, educational wise, or just from experience out in the field to continue doing. I'm sure that's a very stressful, but then creative process. Seeing as time is, a little better than what it was 2.5, almost 3 years ago with the whole pandemic. How much do you see yourself in the future on TikTok, or do you see yourself transitioning back to doing it in person?
Oh, we'd like to do both.
Oh, definitely.
We love performing. We're theater folk.
One doesn't cancel out the other. We're always open for live.
Plus, honestly, it's TikTok now. In a year, it's probably going to be something else.
Yeah, I mean, it'll
really?
morph. It'll
look
change.
At Facebook and the way Facebook has changed.
Yeah, it's going to
YouTube,
evolve.
How YouTube has morphed. We used to be on YouTube. We still are, of course, but we would post videos and get 25,000, 35,000 hits, which was quite good.
Yeah.
And then we realized, gee, we're not getting hits on YouTube as much anymore. And then we realized it's not us. It's just the audience gravitated to TikTok. Yeah. Because 10 years ago, the creators, the influencers were on YouTube. Then YouTube changed. It became a different animal. And those changed. Content creators, who are doing original content, cutting edge content, moved over to TikTok, and TikTok kind of exploded because of that.
And YouTube was longer, and then TikTok was shorter, and they wanted more of the, really.
And now TikTok is actually allowing you to do longer videos because YouTube has a service where they're doing shorter ones. But
then the people watch the longer videos, which is probably the shorter videos are probably going to be more because people click on their phones and they click off and click on. People don't stay on too long on one thing. Yeah. So everything will change. Everything will, evolve.
It keeps evolving. Yeah.
But we're always open to performing live. That's our main thing. I mean, I missed that when we not
we
doing
were
it.
actually we were going to do part of this charity event we do every year called the Holiday Hop with Dan Molinari here in Times Square.
Right
we had
here.
all this great lineup of Broadway folks.
Yeah, but because of the pandemic,
guess what happened?
And the
it got
spike,
canceled because of COVID.
well, because of the big spike during the
huge,
winter,
right
after
before
the holidays,
Christmas,
before
in
holidays
New York,
and after.
everybody
So we had to cancel. So it was really bad. So it was the right decision
at
for
the time.
Yeah, but because you really had to be safe.
Yeah.
Now, Patty and Patty, I have one last thing I want to ask you both, and this is a segment I call This or That. Sometimes I'll do a different one, but this segment is called This or That. What I'll do, Patty and Patty, is I'll name one thing and another thing, and you have to choose between this or that. Are you both ready?
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Chef Boyardee or the Olive Garden?
Oh,
I'll take the Olive Garden.
I'll take the Olive Garden
Any day.
Not that much of a chore.
Please, I ain't no can person.
No.
Goodfellas or Casino?
Goodfellas. Patty. Cheers, Patty.
Cheers.
Where you gonna go?
What are you gonna do?
Francis Ford Coppola or Martin Scorsese?
Oh,
that's a hard one.
Oh.
Can I take a little of both?
Yeah.
Half of the Godfather, half of Goodfellas. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Half and half.
Both geniuses.
Godfather 1 or Godfather 2?
Godfather 1.
Godfather 1. I like the story better. I love, I don't know, there's something about
love
the story.
Godfather 2 with, Vito Corleone's childhood, but the Godfather 1 has it all.
Yeah.
To me, I can't let go of that.
Yeah.
Now, cannoli or pizzelle?
Oh, I love my pizzelle. I make them homemade.
I like cannoli. Yeah.
Andrea Bocelli or Luciano Pavarotti?
Pavarotti.
Absolutely.
And last one, Dean Martin or Old Blue Eyes himself, Frank Sinatra?
I gotta say Old Blue Eyes.
Dean Martin for me.
Dean Martin?
I love Dean Martin.
I love Dean Martin too, but
Everybody loves somebody sometime.
Well, Anita, Marilyn, this has been fun, and I sincerely mean this in all honesty. Thank you so much. I enjoy what you put out there.
Hey, thanks, Nolan. That was fun. I love that game.
Oh, I try to. Sometimes I do a segment called One Word Challenge where I put out a few words and they have to say one word, but I wanted to spice a little bit up and have you guys go in character at least once. But no, thank you so much.
Fun.
I know you're busy and things are opening up, so your schedule may be a little bit more tight to do this thing, so I appreciate it. I allow this time for my guests to put out anything, social media, content, stuff coming up, so that the stage is yours.
Well, you can check us out at pattyandpatty.com and IG at Patty and Patty NYC. TikTok, we're at Patty and Patty. And that's PATTYANDPATTY. Just like on the cups right here.
And
that's right.
On our t-shirt. And we also have t-shirts that look like the cups.
Yeah, we have a whole web. If you go to our website and check out the merchandise page, you can order one just like this. So you can have our mugs on your mug.
Exactly.
That's right. It's not on TikTok. Don't forget to watch.
Yeah.
Exactly. Watch on TikTok.
Our YouTube channel too.
YouTube. Yeah,
that's
definitely.
right. So. Just go on YouTube and Google Patty and Patty.
Yeah. Now, when you don't even watch this video, just watch their content. Their content's more important than us.
And if you want this interview, watch this podcast.
Of course. Well, if you want more news, updates, information, follow on Twitter, Nolan Carr Night, and on Instagram, Nolan Carr Night Show. And in the words of Johnny Carson, I bid you all a heartfelt good night until we see each other again.